Morning. I just want to give you all a little channel update. As you know, I live in South Louisiana, specifically Baton Rouge, so we've been kind of under like a ice apocalypse where we weren't prepared. Even though I've lived in Kentucky and Colorado before, I kind of knew what to expect. Unfortunately, it pushed me behind. I kind of got into a funk weather-wise. It was just bleak, dreary, everything was iced over, the city was kind of closed down. I kind of had a little writer's block, so I didn't get to really work on Magi-geddon like I wanted to. We didn't get to play test last week. Just a lot of things have happened. I'm trying to make progress through the writer's block. Fortunately, I kind of shifted and working on like a little small 5e adventure, kind of keep the juices going, but in a different direction. And I'm gonna come back. I started outlining some new spell books and stuff for Magi-geddon, so I'm getting back on track. I just want to update you with that. When I wasn't in a video until today, just because it was just been so bleh. I haven't got a chance to go outside and walk except for once. So that kind of just not even going outside, not be able to do anything, just kind of put me in a funk. But I'm better now. I did where we left off. We talked about the 5e adventures last week. I kind of updated some stuff, and I made a big packet. Sent some packets to some artists, so hopefully I'll be getting some art back, and I can see where I want to put it and start working on the layout. Because right now I'm just using a Word document, and I have like placeholders. I kind of know what I want to do, kind of in an art zine kind of style. Maybe not as overboard as Mortborg, but somewhere along those lines. And I probably will be going through Drive-Thru RPG, where you can get the PDF and print on demand. I think that's going to be the best avenue, still talking it over. But anyway, some of the updates I did was on the previous life, or what you wore before you were a scavenger. I added, it was a D40 chart, and I added a second one. First one was stuff like I call them thought malus, or melos, however you want to pronounce it, to help, like if you don't have a certain idea what your character was, these kind of got the juices flowing, so to speak, kind of let you exercise your creativity. I'll give you an example. Let's say you rolled a 16. You could have been a savvy metropolitan cheesemaker before you set out on this. I think I'm gonna still work with this. I'm still working on getting it more focused onto the setting I've been creating. It's getting there. I think it needs a couple more passes. And then the second one I made, the second table I made, was a trinket that you held on to from those days. Some of the ones you may receive are something like occult gnome steam-powered limb. You'll see the occult gnomes from the Forbidden Mazes pop up. It's a little faction I created for this. An exquisite tea set, an L-design wizard hat, some badass boots. These are all things that you held on to from your previous occupation, or life. I like to call it life. Appearance, I really didn't do much. I kept it. I'm going to work on that. Milestone loot, I kept it the same. It's a chart that you take your lowest ability score, which would be 11, because when you roll characteristics or abilities, you roll 3d6, but what you do is you keep the lowest. So if it's like you rolled 2, 2, 6, you keep the 2, that's your modifier, your plus modifier, and then you add 10, and that's your score. That way you have 11 to 16. So you take your lowest ability score, and then your hit points before you add your brawn bonus, and then you kind of cross-reference, and you have your starting loot, your starting milestone loot, and for every level you get like a milestone loot, because this only goes to 10 levels. You can get anything from spell books to magic items, low level stuff of course, to a lot of copper pieces. Really nothing on the character creation, except I created a debt mechanic, and that's That's for the characters. There would be like a session leader, and people so that they can rotate, and they'll be in charge of like rolling for the party, stuff like that. So the first session leader will roll for debt, and you start with a D4, and that'll be for one of the trade princes in Rostock. Princess Lila, Prince Gazelle, the Emberbeard Troika, or Prince Ogden Bailey. And then you roll D666 times 10. That's the amount of debt in gold that you owe the trade prince. Once a week, the trade prince will send a mook to collect 5% of the debt. The party can't or doesn't pay the mook, they will be disappointed in returns, in a week to collect 7%, and it carries on that way. This is to get them out and scavenging in order to be motivated to continue on. I've really been reading a lot into the odd and troika to get some ideas. So this is going away more from a knave hack to like a distillation of knave and into the odd, as you will see. But it's also becoming its own beast in a way. Still keeping it simple. It's not too unwieldy. There's a lot of black hack in here too, but the black hack is so awesome. It's still a roll over, not a roll under. But there's the combat. There's no attack rolls. You just like enter the eye, you roll damage. But there's a damage reduction or armor value. That's in here. Rostock, I just added some locales of import. Let's just pull one up. The Octalopolo in Enclave, which is the western enclave, connects the port and harbor of Rostock to the Lucent Sea. Octopolo is the drowned heart of the ocean, the sea of all hidden. It's the god of the enclave. It is governed by Prince Ogden Bailey. Locales of import. There's the Sanctuary of the Submerged, which is the mostly underwater temple of worship for Octopolo, and that's in the Bay of Winds. There's also the Shrieking Crow Tavern, which is known for the best seafood in the region, and their trivia nights. Kind of cool. What else? I'm just pulling these up. I meant to have the printed copy in front of me, and I forgot to grab it out of one of my files. So I just using one of my latest PDF that I did. Didn't really add anything. I made the death. Okay, so death. I had a 1d6 roll that you had when you get healed. I changed that into a 2d6 to make a better bell curve for the better, instead of just 1 out of 6. This kind of makes the odds of a better thing happening to you than dying. So all the effects of returning action are the same. It's just now 2d6. With the I didn't fix. That's the old version. That's weird. I have to find the version that has the better one of that. Anyway, that's really weird. I have to find that copy of that somewhere. I finally added the Oopsies Table, which is what you roll on when you miscast a spell. Anytime you miscast a spell, which is usually by rolling a 1. So I have a D20 table for that. It can be anywhere from roll on the gnawing event index with a +6 to the caster starts sneezing for D4 minutes. Each sneeze has a minor effect around the caster. Stuff like that can happen. It's not too detrimental. It's just kind of a little fun. You still don't want to roll on it because you can get mutations and some other stuff like that. Also added a mutation chart. I'm working on spell books and a spell book generator. That's what's been really eating away at my time. I need to get a spell book generator in here. Wands. I added wands, and we'll also talk about weapon sigils and armor wards here in a second. These are all the magic artifacts I've been adding to the game. So in my game, wands were created eons ago by wizards who put a little bit of themselves in the creation rituals, imbuing these wands a little bit of the wizard's personality. So when you discover a wand, you'll roll on the personality, or I have a 2d12 table right here. So they have a wee bit of sentience as well. The wands themselves, they don't cast any spells. What they do is based on their personality. There's example words like let's look up inquisitive or lazy. So Words associated with the word lazy are slack, idle, useless, slow. So you have that one. It's, I don't really want to do anything. The wizard that created was lazy. But you can use those words, slack, idle, useless, slow, on any spell that you know in your spell book. So you can add it into the spell, and that way you can shape the spell in a new, different way. You can add like a slowing effect. You can add a slack and idle, useless. You can do a lot of these things by using the wand. But the addition of the word makes no grammatical sense. The spell automatically fails. There's no, it doesn't. You don't need a miscast. It just fizzles out. You can roll rude, so you have sharp, short, flip. You can, put one of those words where it would fit in the spell, and you can cast and shape it a little bit differently. I really like that idea. I like the fact that wands themselves don't have any charges. They just help the caster do something with the spell book. Weapon sigils. So when Magi-geddon, there's no magic left. Something happened. All the magic left. Are you just using these artifacts? So that means that I would think weapon and armor effects aren't always on. So I created a proc mechanic, which all weapon sigils, I created a sigil die, which is just a d6. So when you roll your damage, you don't roll it to hit, you roll your damage, you roll the sigil die if your weapon has a sigil. If you roll a 6, that means the sigil actually procced. Sigils are also affected by critical ideal damage. Critical ideal damage, we'll get to that in a little bit, but I have a few sigils, like Sigil of Frost. When you roll the sigil die on a roll of 6, the frigid touch of the Frost Witch pack cannon embraces the target with sickly black icicles, dealing an extra d4 damage and negates the movement for 1 moment. In my idea, sigils, even though there's not a lot of magic left in the world, it's all artifacts and stuff like this, that when it procs, it needs to do something more than just damage. So that's why most of these will have like a carrier, I guess, another added effect. Let's do Sigil of Striking. On a roll of 6, an arcane symbol flashes above the target's head in pinkish purplish hues. The wielder may attack again as if they have advantage. They can ignore the downshift of the damage die, usually given to advantage attacks until the end of their moment. So since there's no rolling of attack dice, if you have advantage on a target, you get to make a second attack with no bonus, and your normal damage die shifts down by 1. So if you're doing d6, it would shift down to d4. That's it. And that's why the Sigil of Striking kind of fixes that. Sigil Boom. On a roll of 6, a loud roar from the chorus of Ursa Torden shockwaves the target, dealing d4 damage and knocking the target back 1 zone. Just little examples of where I'm going with the weapon sigils. There'll be much more. I have much more planned. This is all I've written so far. Armor wards, they're going to be totally different. They still have a ward die, just like a sigil die. It's a d6. And not all the wards are going to protect you. Some of them do like really cool stuff. I was thinking of like Diablo and loot chase games. So I really want to, and I'm going to do this especially with the rings and some other stuff I'm going to be integrating here shortly. Like Ward of the Rabbit. Roll the ward die. On a roll of 6, the eyes of Canaan see you, granting you luck in finding loot. You find 2 times the amount of loot immediately after combat and until the next time you roll for initiative. So what it carries over, that means when you roll, because I let the players roll. I don't roll unless I really want to. I let them roll for their loot. I just have the charts and tables. Anytime you can let your player roll dice, do it. Players love to roll dice. Always let them roll dice as much as you can. So that means they get to they find 2 times. So if they roll 100 gold, they get 200 gold. It's just the way the ward goes. There's another ward. And there's your traditional, the ward of bulwark. Oh my gosh, I can't talk today. And I'm not going to edit this out. I'm going to leave it right as it is because I make mistakes just like everybody else. On a roll of 6, Scayolo Dust shields you from attacks. Your armor value goes up by your brawn bonus for 1 moment. So, say you have an armor value of 2, and you have a brawn bonus of 3. For that 1 moment until your start of your next moment, you have a 5. So you get to reduce 5 damage, incoming damage, anytime until the start of your next moment. That's an example of some armor wards. I've added psychic powers. It's a sci-fi fantasy world I'm creating, so you gotta have psychic powers. You can gain psychic powers in numerous ways. You can be experimented on by these creatures called flesh surgeons. I have inserted into my game now. There are wastes caused by the gnawing, which the gnawing replaced anything I set entropy. I actually named it the gnawing and gave it, it has a more like, I don't know, visceral feel to it when you hear it. It sounds bad. It sounds worse than entropy. The gnawing, oh crap. So I've been replacing any mention of entropy with, the gnawing. Strange glowing meteors, weird crash metallic ships, bathing or drinking from any of the ashen pools, whatever the Weaver deems. Ashen pools, you're going to hear that a lot. It's something I've added, and I'm working on. There are dead gods, and when they die, their brains melt into these ashen pools, and that's what these are. Again, the psychic powers. If a party member gets a psychic power, they should work with the Weaver to create something that's cool. I mean, it can be telekinesis, but don't name it telekinesis. Do not name it something boring. Name it mind pool or something. I don't know. But here's how psychic powers basically work. I kept it very simple. When a party member gains a psychic power, they gain a will, W-I-L-L, rating of 1. Right off the bat, that's what they get. Will rating is used to express how powerful the psychic power is, how many psychic powers the party member can have, and the target number to make sure the psychic power goes off. So it's kind of like a spell. You have a target number, which, say a will of 1 has a damage D4, plus your Moxie bonus. It's going to be based on Moxie. Your target number is always going to be 10 plus your will times 2. So like if you have, so never go above a 16. So a level 1 party member who gains psychic power would need to roll over a target number 12 for the power to execute. The only way you can level up your psychic power, and it's going to be very hard to level up your psychic power, because you have to roll a d20 versus your will. So if you have a will of 1, you actually have to roll a 1 on a d20 to get it up to 2 and so on. But you have 10 levels to do it, so there's always a chance. I also have a Brain Oopsies Table. Here's some psychic powers examples that you feel free to use in the game. Brain Boom, exclamation point. Inflict damage with your thoughts directly into a target's brain, dealing will damage plus Moxie bonus. If the target reaches bleeding out, which is the death, or at 0 hit points, you consider bleeding out. Their brain explodes out of their skull like a Cronenberg movie. Neat. That has a range of far. There's blank kinesis, like telekinesis, but a tad more specific. They have a word that may represent your party member's personality. This is key. And we're going to, again, like the wands, you take a word that's associated with that personality, and that's the kind of kinesis you have. It starts at D4 plus Moxie bonus range far. The Gleaming, you are bestowed with a gift to appear in the future for the next 24 hours. You may turn will rating amount of failed tests or saves into successes. An example of a Brain Oopsie, the party member gains a crippling phobia of the following. Roll D8. The moon, the color red, very smooth rocks. The sun, snakes, religion, frogs. The secret plans, the cabal, the demonic aliens bent on the utter anal probing of all life forms. Yeah, I'm having a little fun. I have mutations. Right now it's a very loose kind of placeholder. I may keep it like this because it's very simple, straightforward. But it's one of those. Let me get feedback on to see if I want to expand it. The only thing about, for each mutation gained, the party member loses D4 points of Moxie. So you can lose anywhere from 1 to 4 points of Moxie. When the party member reaches 0 Moxie, they become a mindless slime, devouring all in their way. Theme from the Blob 1958 begins to play, is what I've literally written. So it's not always beneficial to get mutations. That's really it. I added some more creatures, changing everything to the 9. Added my own little placeholder art. We have the rabbit toadstool, We got the Flesh Eaters, which zombies, the unliving, the undead. Flesh Surgeon, which I'll just read you the opening paragraph. Flesh surgeons are universally despised. They seek to enhance themselves beyond the flesh, becoming like the dead gods they fear, worship, and feast upon. They carry out mad experiments on any and all flesh they can find. Many have developed psychic powers through experimentations on said flesh, both divine and mortal. Many flesh surgeons will have several flesh eaters in their unhallowed laboratory shrines, the results of experiments gone so wrong. And I am also working on 2 adventures that will be included. They're very short adventures, but they'll be included in the final publication. And one is Temple of the Ashen Pools, which they are, my playtest is running through now. And the next one is Enter the Astral Sabbath, which I have created. Oh man, I have to find that. I know what that is. Which introduces an alien insectoid race called Scritches because of the sound their legs make. And I just finished those guys off, and I'm working on that. So, spoiler: the Astral Sabbath was the name of their colony ship, and so the first part is like first part of the ship, and then the rest of the ship actually is going to be developed into a mega dungeon using zines. So that's going to be like a DLC. I think any add-ons to Magi-geddon will be through DLC, like zines that we're going to put out, which will be anywhere from 8 to 20 pages. So it's not going to be too expensive to add on to Magi-geddon. So that's surprise. I was going to do an announcement, but I might as well say it now. Magi-geddon DLC. I know I'm forgetting to say something. I meant to add on. Talked about artists, 2 adventures. Hopefully tonight we may be doing another playtest. If not, it'll be next week. I'll update on that. Ooh, this is running a little bit longer than I expected. But anyway, that's the state of the game. Appreciate you watching. If you have any comments, thoughts, questions, if you want a copy of a playtest version, if you want to run it, let me know. You can just message me or leave a comment, and I'll happily give you let you have a playtest version. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you for sticking with me for over 20 minutes. I didn't mean to be that long, and I hope your day gets incredibly better, because I know mine is, because the sun's trying to sneak out finally. All right, have a good one. Thanks. Bye.